The calendar is pushing toward Friday as the first day of fall. The weather outside is starting to cool down. The leaves are changing color. But that doesn't mean justice is taking any time off. Welcome to Bethea'S Byte and the recap of the Summer of Justice. So good to have everybody in the house this week. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw, and quickly going to the chat. Where the wind blows, how you doing? Good to have you on. It's a recap of everything that went down this summer. Come from the month of May all the way until today. But before I get started on that, I have 3 missing persons to bring to your attention today. 2 of which are cousins. And so what I'll do, I'll save those for the last. Let's begin with this young lady right here by the name of Dulce Maria Alvarez. Excuse me. I can pull this up. There we go. All right. Now this thing is running slow. I hold it to my laptop, not necessarily to anything that I'm actually doing. Okay, here we go. That should do it. That ought to do it. All right. Let's see. Which one am I bringing to your... There you go. That's the one I wanted to bring. There we go. All right. I want you all to pay attention to all 4 of these photos. Especially the photo to the far right. The last one is age progressed to about 7 years. Dulce Maria Alvarez, if I'm trying to pronounce the name correctly, is about 9 years old today. At the time of her disappearance, she stood approximately 3 feet tall, weighed approximately 60 to 70 pounds, with long brown hair and brown eyes. At the time she was 5 years old, Dulce was last seen on the afternoon of Monday, September 16, 2019, while playing at the Bridgeton City Park behind Bridgeton High School in Bridgeton, New Jersey. So heads up, everybody in the Bridgeton and Newark, New Jersey areas. We need your help here. Dulce was last seen wearing a yellow skirt with a koala on the front, black and white pants with butterflies and flowers on them, and white dress sandals. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $5,000 for information that leads to the whereabouts of Dulce Maria Alvarez. Additional reward money may be available. So, as always, if you have any information concerning this case, you are asked to call 911 immediately. You are asked to call the FBI's toll-free tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-225 5324 and select option 4 and then select option 8. You may also contact your local FBI office, and you can also text your information to tip 411 subtext Bridgeton. And you can also submit your information online at tips.fbi.gov. Also, if you have any photos or videos from Bridgeton City Park on September 16th, 2019, you should upload them to www.fbi.gov/Alaves. However you bring this information forward, by word of mouth, by text, by online tip, by phone, however you do it, please, if you see something, say something. Let's bring Dulce Maria Alaves home safe and sound. All right. Next up, as I mentioned earlier, are two cousins. On August 30th, 1979, Carlota Maria Sanchez, who you see right here, who I'll bring up in just a minute. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a perfect channel. I never claim to have a perfect channel, but I do my best. Please hold tight. Yes, I have a slow running laptop. Yes, it's as slow as it can be slow as molasses at times, but I will get the information out. That's what I do. Come on. You got to be kidding me, right? You have got to be kidding me. Just when I go live. If you think I need a new laptop, no, I'm not even gonna finish that statement. Oh, finally. Let's see. Let's see. 3 feet and 60 pounds. She says seems way off. Seems way off her height. That's the reason why I said approximately. Number one, and number two. That's the reason I said at the time of her disappearance. So, ooh boy, you gotta be kidding me. That's the reason why I always say approximately, and I always say at the time of disappearance. It was that way. If it's off, man, or things have changed, age change, all that happens. Let's see. I think all FBI are the same number, nearly impossible to get them to answer. Hands busy, so she's not worried. Not my fault. I appreciate that. Uh, Give me 1 minute because I'm going to share the next two because I do have that, and then I promise you, we're going to get into a recap. Carlota and Elsie. All right, all right. The next two on the missing persons on our missing persons list: Carlota Maria Sanchez and Elsie Eldora Lucier. On August 30th, 1979, Elsie Eldora Lucier and Carlota Maria Sanchez disappeared from Tahola, Washington, which is in the Quinault Nation Indian Reservation. The FBI is seeking information about the disappearance of both girls and about those responsible for their disappearance. So, everybody in that area and everybody in the Seattle, Washington area, heads up. This is that we need your help on these two disappearances. Now, at the time of their respective disappearances, first I'm gonna go ahead and say that Carlota is about about 56 years of age today. Elsie 57. So at the time of their disappearances, Carlota stood about 5 feet 6 inches at the time, weighed around 112 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Elsie stood about 5 feet 1 inch tall at the time, weighed around 110 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information concerning either of these cases, either one, please do not hesitate. Contact your local FBI office, call 911 immediately, or submit your tip online at tips.fbi.com. But whatever you do, again, if you see something, please say something. All right, guys. Now, if I can get this last tab closed before I reopen a brand new one for everything. All right. Like I said at the top, the weather start the weather start is starting to cool down, but justice is not taking any time off. So here's where I'm gonna start. I'm gonna open up a brand new tab. And with this tab, I am going to go through every case that I can think of that comes to my brain from the beginning of May till now. And we are going to go back over everything that I declared as the summer of justice. Let's begin with Heather Maxine Baron and Karim Ernesto Leyva. Now, everybody knows Everybody who knows me knows that made good on the announcement that if the case ends up with an arrest, an arraignment, an indictment, a trial, um, a verdict, with a sentence, that I would bring it here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I have plenty, including an update on a verdict that went down just today. So we're gonna get down to on that. We're gonna start off with like I said, the murder case of Anthony Avalos, mother and boyfriend, who was responsible for the 10-year-old's 2018 death. Shout out to People Magazine for the article. I know I said I was going to start at May, but apparently this one took near the end of April, which guess what? I don't have this probably with this one. And her now former boyfriend have been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the 10-year-old's 2018 murder and torture. Murder and torture. Hold on, let me fix my screen here real quick. Uh-oh. Somebody said, yeah, yikes. That's what I thought too when I saw murder and torture. But like I said, justice served, right? Heather Barone, age 33, and her former boyfriend, 37-year-old Kareem Leyva, were convicted in March of the abuse and killing of the boy in Lancaster, California. More than a dozen family members gave heart-wrenching statements during the sentencing. My kids asked me if I'm okay, Anthony's father, Victor Avalos, told the court. Of course I tell him yes, but it's not like that. I feel some type of guilt by not being able to help him when he most needed me. I think about that every day. I am finally free from all the torture and abuse, Anthony's sister Destiny testified, according to the LA Times. If I would have known this would end with me losing a brother, I'd do it all over again with just one difference. That would be me, not Anthony. On June 20th, 2018, Barone called 911 to report that Anthony was hurt after being injured in a fall, according to the LA County Sheriff's Department. But prosecutors said all of his injuries come from weeks and years of abuse at the hands of his mother and boyfriend. Look at this kid. 10 years old. Barely had a chance to live. According to reporting by People Magazine, authorities came to learn that over the final 5 or 6 days of his young life, Anthony suffered a disturbing amount of abuse, including having hot sauce poured over his face and mouth, being made to kneel on rice for long periods of time, being whipped with a belt on his body, legs, buttocks, and bottom of his feet, and being repeatedly held upside down and dropped on his head. According to the prosecution's filing in 2018, Leyva was also accused of lifting Anthony and slamming him on the floor, then kicking him in the stomach. After Anthony's death, a review of DCFS's contact with Anthony and his family was conducted by the Office of Child Protection. It was discovered that the agency had 13 contacts with them from February 2013 to November 2016. That's coming from earlier reporting by People magazine. Among those who reported possible abuse or neglect were law enforcement, relatives, school employees, therapists, and others. During the March trial, Destiny and Anthony's brother Raphael testified about the alleged abuse from Leyva, according to the Los Angeles Times. Raphael said one of the punishments would be holding weights in the air for long periods of time, while Destiny said the children were forced to fight each other, according to the LA Times. She also testified that when she was forced to fight Anthony, he would let her win so she could avoid further punishment from Leyva. Anthony's fourth grade teacher also testified during the trial, saying Anthony was everyone's best friend and always happy and a joy to be around, according to ABC 7 LA. She read aloud a handwritten letter Anthony gave her just 2 weeks before his murder. ABC 7 reported that, which read, "I just want to stay with you forever, but I can't. I just hope you have a good rest of your life, because you already know that I'm going to have a good life." Now, with this comes a PSA, ladies and gentlemen. If you suspect child abuse, you are asked to call the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4A-CHILD. That's 1-800-422-4453, or go to www.childhelp.org. All calls are toll-free and confidential. The hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in more than 170 languages. Do not let another child become a victim. As for Barone and Leyva, yeah, I feel that. Your emojis are saying the same thing I said when I first recorded this. Honestly, though, justice served. Why can I say that with so much confidence? They're not getting out, which means they're not going to have a chance to do this to another child. Thank God for that, right? Oh, Blondie, how you doing, Blondie? Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate it. I love all of you guys for whenever you stop by. They had credible witnesses. Why does CPS not step up? Because they hit. Because I'm gonna take a guess is that they hit it well. That's my only assumption. They hit it well, but still, I want you to look at this photo one more time. That's Leyva on the left. That's Barone on the right. And I'm gonna say this before I end this part of the recap. This young man, 10 years of age, we'll never see again. At least not walking this earth. Leyva, he won't have the chance to walk the street again, which means he won't have the chance to hurt another child again. Good riddance. And this Mino, she let it happen. She won't have the chance to let this happen to another child ever in her life. And by the way, anybody paying attention to me, and I call him out as a Mino. Mino is a mother in name only. Let's move onward. Let's move on to the next story in our recap of the Summer of Justice. Ooh, yeah, that poor little boy. You're right. That poor little boy. Next up, the Oakley Snow case. Remember that one? Here's the break. Oh, look at this. Look at this. You have you have Mino, Madison Marshall. You have little Oakley May Snow in the middle, and you have Rowan Waters. And I'm shouting out Law and Crime Network for for this post. Goes all the way back from April 26th. The search for a 2-year-old girl who's been missing since January has come to a tragic end, with law enforcement authorities confirming that the body of young Oakley May Snow was found stuffed in a dresser drawer in an abandoned building in Indiana. The toddler's mother, Mino, Madison Marshall, and her boyfriend, Rowan Waters, were arrested and charged in connection with the child's brutal death. Waters has been charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of neglect of a dependent resulting in death, 1 count of neglect of a dependent resulting in serious injury, and 5 additional counts of neglect of a dependent. Marshall is facing the same slate of charges, but instead of murder, she was charged with two counts of assisting a criminal. I guess I don't know if they use the same language, but that sounds like how did that phrase go? Oh yeah, aiding and abetting. Oakley's father, Zachary Snow, reportedly told investigators with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office that Marshall and Waters took the children from his home in Oklahoma on January 19th without permission before fleeing to Indiana, where they could stay with Waters' mother. Colton Snow, Zachary Snow, and Marshall's 7-month-old son were abducted, along with his older sister, and abandoned by Marshall and Waters in a trap house, authorities said. He was later found and reunited with his father. Waters was arrested in March in Colorado on an outstanding warrant, while Marshall was taken into custody earlier this month for abandoning Colton, authorities said. But Oakley was nowhere to be found. A probable cause affidavit obtained by Law and Crime reveals the disturbing torture and horrific abuse young Oakley allegedly endured, particularly at the hands of Waters, that eventually took her life. Now, there's that word again. There's that word again. Torture. You know how I feel about kids being tortured. According to the document, Marshall told investigators that Waters would regularly whoop Oakley as a form of discipline for any perceived misbehavior, including, of all things, holding a fork wrong, urinating in her diaper, and many other behaviors common to toddlers. On several occasions, he also allegedly choked her out. I'd like to choke him out. Marshall told investigators that Oakley had stopped eating around Waters because he regularly became aggressive with her when she would not eat at the pace that he wanted her to. If that's true, I mean, what kind of pace did he want her to eat at? Chew it now and taste it later. That's the kind of pace we would have in the army. I'm guessing anywhere in the military for that matter. On February 9, 2023, Marshall said she heard Waters in the living room repeatedly yelling at Oakley to bounce on an inflatable rubber ball with a handle attached to it. After the fifth and loudest time he yelled at her, Marshall went in to check on them and said she saw Waters standing over Oakley as she sat trying to bounce on the ball. Waters then sat on the couch, and Marshall returned to the kitchen. A few minutes later, she heard Waters scream for her, saying she'd never heard him sound like that before. She met him in the hallway as he held Oakley in his arms. She saw that Oakley was not moving. Waters continually repeated without prompting that he didn't do anything and that it wasn't his fault, according to the affidavit. He initially refused to let Marshall take Oakley from him and stripped her of her clothes. Marshall could see Oakley's stomach and chest cavity extend as she was trying to breathe air. However, she observed what appeared to be a mix of blood and spittle dripping from her mouth when she tried to exhale, which created a gurgling sound. Oakley's eyes remained closed throughout this time. Marshall said Waters refused to let her call 911. Instead, he wrapped the child in a blanket, put her in the back of his car with Marshall, according to the affidavit. Marshall allegedly said she opened the blanket to check on her daughter and found Oakley had stopped trying to breathe, and her lips had become blue. Marshall felt her skin, which now seemed cool to the touch. She could no longer feel a heartbeat as she held her, the document states. Marshall pulled Oakley's eyelids back to further examine her, but saw no movement or response in them. She held Oakley's hand before eventually climbing up to the front seat next to Waters. According to Marshall, they drove to an abandoned home in another town. She said Waters took Oakley's body out of the car, entered the home through a window, and came out a short while later. Marshall led police to the home, where they found Oakley's decomposed body in the dresser's bottom drawer. Police said her left leg had been clearly broken at the knee, so that the left foot rested directly over her chest. Oh, I'm speechless too. Totally speechless. You're right. It is absolutely sickening. Hang on. Okay. Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears released a statement on the case. As parents, we have a duty to protect our children. Yes, we do. Not only did these two individuals fail to live up to that responsibility, but the allegations in the probable cause affidavit indicate that Oakley suffered a horrific death and an abandonment that diminished the dignity that any child deserves, he said. I want to thank multiple law enforcement agencies and our prosecutors who worked tirelessly to locate this child and seek justice on her behalf. Marshall appeared in court at the time, where a judge set her bond at $200,000. Waters, at that time, had yet to make his first court appearance. So, as sickening as that case was, and believe me, it made a lot of us sick. I'm gonna root around. I'm gonna try to find updates on this case, and I'm gonna bring it to you. Let's call that case an extension of the Summer of Justice. All right. In the meantime, yeah, let's hope that little Oakley Snow gets the justice she deserves. Next up, is another disturbing case. And when I say disturbing, I mean this is one of those like like where the wind blows just said in the chat. What the heck? Yes, again, my laptop is slow as maple syrup. No, molasses. But anyway, I'm gonna still pull this article up. I believe this was called the baby in a bucket case. Excuse me. All right, hang on, guys. Like I said, slow as old molasses. Week old molasses in January. It's that slow. All right. Now we're stuck cook. All right. I want you to take a look at this face. Remember her? That's 6-year-old Bella Fontanelle. 6 years old. Oh boy. Now I gotta read. Okay, there we go. All right. Are you serious? Oh boy. Hang on, guys. I gotta find another version of this story. Or at least an update on it. Okay. Well, since I can't get NOLA.com, they cooperate with me. My good friends at the Law and Crime Network can. So I shot them out. As you can see the headline clear as day. Woman strangled beat boyfriend, 6-year-old girl stuffed a body in a bucket and dragged it in a wagon to the mother's yard, according to police. We already saw a picture of Bella just moments ago from NOLA.com. After more than 2 months, authorities are doing more to lay out their case against a woman who allegedly killed her boyfriend's 6-year-old daughter, put the body in a large plastic bucket, and dragged the remains over to the biological mother's home, where she dumped the bucket and remains in the yard. Investigators in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, previously said that Bunnock Hannah Landon, was caught on neighbor surveillance footage pulling that wagon on the night of April 25th at a hearing. Authorities testified about the child's cause of death, the defendant's decision to arrive at a police department by herself, her phone search history, and the family's fractured past, according to details from WWL-TV. Criminal Commissioner Patricia Joyce considered the defendant a flight risk and danger to the community and ruled that authorities must hold her without bond before trial. The lead detective, Anthony Foley, testified that about the victim, Bella Fontanelle, telling a school counselor that she did not like going to her father's home and that Landon was mean to her and her 7-year-old sister. The dynamic between the victim and the defendant allegedly escalated to fatal cruelty on the evening of Tuesday, April 25th. The girl's grandmother dropped them off at their father's home after hanging out and seeing their dad at work, according to testimony. She said she did not notice anything unusual and would not have left if she did, according to authorities. Landon was the only person allegedly at the home with the girls. Authorities in April declined to specify Bella's cause of death, though Jefferson Parish Coroner Jerry Cvitanovich, I'm pronouncing it with a silent V, said she sustained multiple injuries before dying. In a new hearing, Jefferson Parish Coroner's Office Chief Forensic Pathologist Dana Troxclair reportedly testified that Bella died of strangulation and blunt force trauma. Her report is not finished as of then. As authorities previously said, Landon put the body in a bucket and dragged it in a wagon around the corner and less than 2 blocks away from the home of Bella's biological mother. At the Sedgefield Drive location, officers discovered the victim's remains inside a large plastic bucket in the front yard. Authorities said at that time the victim was pronounced dead on the scene. Authorities now say that Landon's DNA was on the bucket. She allegedly returned the wagon to the father's home and put her phone in a plastic bag and buried it nearby. Investigators are still looking into the phone, but there are no statements or texts to show Landon killed Bella, Boutoni said. With that said, she allegedly had searched on the phone for defense lawyers. Authorities also previously noted that Landon had visited the Harahan Police Department around midnight on April 26, hours before Bella's father woke up to find his daughter and girlfriend missing. The hearing revealed more of Landon's initial encounter with law enforcement. She looks distressed, Officer Logan Barlow reportedly testified of the midnight incident. Landon was wearing the same outfit as she did on the wagon surveillance footage. Landon allegedly asked police if she could make a phone call, and she said she was having family issues. I don't want to talk about that, she allegedly told cops when asked what the matter was. Police called EMS a couple hours later for a mental evaluation. Authorities do not consider either biological parent a suspect. Surveillance footage and phone data confirmed the father's alibi about going straight to bed after returning from work. Testimony, however, showed a tense family history. In 2019, Harahan police report, the father allegedly threatened to kill the biological mother, the 2 girls, and himself. Landon was charged in 2021 with battery against the mother. She was arrested for first-degree murder and obstruction of justice in Bella's death while at the hospital getting treatment for an injury to her left hand. You never got to see the little girl? Hang on, let me see if I can pull a picture up. Yeah, and thank God for cameras, indeed. Hang on. Let me see if I can get a picture of Belafontaine. Belafontanel, excuse me. As my good friend and co-laborer in true crime would say, hold please. Okay, this will do it. Open that photo up in a new tab. Oh, maybe not. Not that's too small. Okay, this is a better pick. All right. I tend to agree with you on that statement on where the wind blows. That is kind of BS. But you may be chuckling at that, but wait till you take a look at the young lady in question. Here she is. Real cutie, right? Now, imagine you're her biological mother. And the next time you see your daughter, you see her in a bucket. That woman, and I use the term very loosely, needs. Oh Lord, you couldn't see her? Hold on. Let me try this once again. There you go. And right there. Let's see. What the heck would she do that? Not send her home? Yeah. Yeah. It's too much there's too much going on with that. Tiny. Yeah. It just wasn't right. And Landon needs to have justice handed to her. Hard. Bella deserves this. Bella deserves justice. Period. Point blank. I'll keep. Let's see. They only live a block about a block apart. Let's see. What was that? Less than 2 blocks. Less than 2 blocks. Yes, she does deserve justice. I'm gonna keep this updated. Again, call it another extension on the summer of justice. Even though, like I said, summer's turning to fall within the next few days. Justice says, I don't see a season. Let's see. Moving along. Oh, remember the the guy that in that shooting in Atlanta? Seems like with each this is the way this is how the summer recap is going, ladies and gentlemen. I keep asking, do you remember? I'm starting to feel like old school Michael Jackson. Do you remember? Atlanta shooting suspect Dion Patterson charged with murder and 4 counts of aggravated assault. This was back in May. The man accused of opening fire in an Atlanta medical facility was charged with murder and 4 counts of aggravated assault, according to jail records. Dion Dwayne Patterson, age 24, is accused of shooting 5 women before he evaded police during an 8-hour-long manhunt. He didn't appear in court as scheduled Thursday, waiving his right to see a judge within 24 hours of his arrest. His next scheduled court date was not immediately set at that time. Amy St. Pierre, age 39, who was an employee of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, was killed with a semi-automatic handgun. That's what Atlanta police officer Scott DeMeester wrote in an affidavit. In a statement posted on Twitter, now X, the CDC said, CDC is deeply saddened by the unexpected loss of a colleague killed yesterday in the Midtown Atlanta shooting. Our hearts are with her family, friends, and colleagues as they remember her and grieve this tragic loss. Court papers identified the 4 women who were wounded as Lisa Glenn, Georgette Whitlow, Jasmine Daniel, and Elisa Hollinger. Ages range from 25 to 71. Glenn and Daniel were shot in the abdomen, Whitlow in the arm, and Hollinger in the face, according to the arrest affidavit. The shooting occurred at 1110 West Peachtree Street between 11:59 a.m. and 12:08 p.m., according to those court papers. The 3 of the wounded remained in intensive care at Grady Memorial Hospital, and 2 of them will return to the operating room, said Dr. Robert Jansen, at least at that time. This is unfortunately a routine thing after these types of injuries. You can't do everything during the first operation. 25-year-old Daniel had been working in patient intake in the North Side Hospital facility for 6 months. Quentin Daniel, her father, had said this. He said that even though she's in critical condition and breathing through a tube, doctors have told him that they are confident she will recover from gunshot wounds to her chest and pelvis. She is a jolly, cheerful person who loves her family, Daniel said Thursday of his daughter, who is also a new mom. Her 1-year-old didn't sleep well last night without his mother. It was the latest in a string of mass shootings that have been plaguing America. 5 people were killed in a bank in Louisville, Kentucky on April 10th, and 6 people died when gunfire erupted in a Christian school in Nashville, Tennessee, March 27th. We have had a mass shooting in this country virtually every day this year, and I'm afraid we're becoming numb to it, Senator Raphael Warnock said Thursday to MSNBC. I'm afraid that we are behaving as if this is normal. This is not normal to live in a country where no one is safe, no matter where they are. Warnock spoke from the Senate floor, saying that his two children were caught up in the school lockdowns that were ordered immediately after the shooting. Let's see. Okay, have to pick up her son. Rewatch. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I look forward. Forward for your commentary when you watch the replay. And as far as this case goes, this guy needs to be put away. He hurt way too many people. Trust me, when I say way too many, one was enough. One was too much. Now, onward to a case that may have set everybody off. So I'm gonna go ahead right now and give you a trigger warning. Yes, this is a trigger warning. I've already updated you on cases involving children. Some may have been more brutal than others, but if this one you can't stand, if your mental health is triggered in any way, if your emotional trigger is affected in any way, please turn away from this particular story, because I guarantee you it will likely set you off. Colorado woman found guilty of killing her 11-year-old stepson. Yes, friends, this is the Letitia Stout case, the aftermath from it. This was the update as of May 8th. Jurors found a Colorado woman guilty of the murder in the death of her 11-year-old stepson, rejecting her claim that she was insane when she attacked him. Letitia Stout was convicted of all charges My cam went down. There we go. There we go. My cam's right back up. Looks like it should be. She stabbed him 18 times, hit him in the head, and shot him once. Prosecutors argued that Stout killed the boy in January 2020 because she hated him and wanted to hurt his father, Al Stout, whom she planned to leave and who was away on a National Guard deployment at the time. Stalk did not deny killing Gannon and taking his body across the country in a suitcase in the back of a rented van. But she pled not guilty by reason of insanity. The defense argued that she killed Gannon during a psychotic break caused by trauma from being physically, emotionally, and sexually abused during her childhood. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, I can get this, what my wife just made, from Starbucks for 50 cents. Good stuff, good stuff, my wife's frappe. Experts at the State Mental Hospital concluded that Stalk had a personality disorder with borderline and narcissistic features, but was sane at the time Gannon was killed. Under Colorado law, that means understanding the difference between right and wrong and being able to form the intent to commit a crime. Here's our monster. There's our monster, ladies and gentlemen. Now, anybody tells me that she didn't know what she was doing, I will probably look at you and say, "You crazy." The main defense witness, Dr. Dorothy Lewis, author of the book Crazy, Not Insane, and featured in an HBO documentary with the same title, concluded that Stalk suffered from a dissociative identity disorder, when someone has two or more personalities as a result of trauma, and was not sane at the time Gannon was killed. Prosecutors, however, pointed out that Lewis did not know how sanity is defined under Colorado law. In the weeks leading up to Gannon's killing, Stalk was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, but I haven't killed anybody. Stalk was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder after she was referred to a psychologist while being treated at a military health clinic. Therapist Rhonda Niederhauser testified that Stalk did not show any signs of being a threat to herself or others and was aware of her surroundings. Authorities believe Stalk killed Gannon in his bedroom a few hours before reporting him missing on January 27, 2020, saying he had not come home from playing with friends. Dozens of volunteers helped search for the boy in the area around where the family lived near Colorado Springs. However, investigators later revealed that Stalk concocted a variety of stories to mislead them, including that a man she hired to repair a carpet raped her and then abducted Gannon. After Al Stalk became suspicious of his wife, he allowed the FBI to listen in on his phone calls with her, trying to draw out more information from her about where Gannon was. Hours of audio from those calls, along with video recordings of interviews with Stalk about her mental health, were a prominent part of the evidence offered during the 5-week trial. Gannon's remains were found by bridge inspectors in March 2020 in a suitcase under a bridge on the Florida Panhandle. Prosecutors suggested that Stalk had snuck out from a hotel room where she was staying with her daughter in Pensacola to dispose of his body in the middle of the night, hoping it would be swept into the Gulf of Mexico. Stalk was convicted of first-degree murder after deliberation. First-degree murder of a child by a person in a position of trust, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. She did not appear to show any reaction to the verdict as it was read, sitting at the defense table between her two lawyers. Later, as everyone milled around the court talking, she sat there alone, taking sips of water. Ladies and gentlemen, of one of the most disturbing cases of a child unaliving This one ranks right on the top. And I'm glad she got what she deserved. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. I wish I could throw a stamp here. Throw a stamp here where I would use my signature, justice served. Boom. It would feature. It would take. I would be right on this picture. Bam. Right below her face. But then maybe it'll go right across her face too. You tell me which way. But yes, still, no matter which way I goes, justice served. Next in an ongoing case is the case of Jason and Joy Solani. Now, this case I've dug a little bit. I've dug deep. I've had exclusive interviews with people related to the case, and this story is still bugs me to this day. It still goes a lot against everything I'm still wondering whether this is man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But this is the article from Law and Crime. Parents killed infant who died with a plastic bag over it, then claimed they would pray and have baby resurrected. This was in May. Colorado woman and her husband have been arrested on multiple felony charges for allegedly killing their own baby, the youngest of their then 7 children, all of whom were allegedly abused and forced to live in squalid, inhumane conditions. Jason Soltani and Joy Soltani were taken into custody on April 24th and charged with 1 count each of child abuse resulting in death, criminally negligent homicide, and manslaughter, according to authorities. According to a press release from the Crowley County Sheriff's Office, warrants from the 16th Judicial District of Colorado were initially issued for the couple on April 21st in connection with the August 2021 death of their infant son. The Soltanis were able to evade law enforcement for several days until a security staffer working at the Otero Junior College in La Junta, Colorado, spotted the duo and recognized them from law enforcement photos posted to Facebook and contacted the local police department, officials said. Officers with the La Junta Police Department responded to the scene and took both suspects into custody without incident. A copy of the probable cause affidavit obtained by the Colorado Springs CBS affiliate KKTV provided additional details into the allegations against the couple. Now, this is another trigger warning. The details of these allegations may be disturbing to some readers and viewers of this recap. According to the document, CCSO deputies on August 9, 2021 responded to a call regarding an unresponsive infant at a residence located in Crowley County, about 160 miles southeast of Denver. Upon arriving at the scene, first responders reportedly found the baby and performed life-saving procedures until they were able to transport him to a hospital in La Junta via ambulance. Authorities contacted the Soltanis, but the couple were suspiciously evasive and uncooperative. For example, they were unable to provide authorities with the child's birth certificate, refused to speak to investigators with the sheriff's office, and gave doctors 2 different birth dates for the victim. Unfortunately, the child succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the facility. Following the distressing incident, a search warrant was reportedly executed at the Soltani residence, where authorities allegedly discovered an 18-year-old female and 6 children, all of whom were under the age of 8. Shockingly, the modest 1,465 square foot home was found to be in a deplorable state, exhibiting signs of hoarding, including filthy rooms, sticky floors, and children sleeping on piles of dirty clothes and in dirty car seats, according to the police report. The house was filthy with trails to the rooms, sticky floors, children sleeping on piles of dirty clothes and car seats, read a section of the arrest report cited by KKTV, in which the resident was described as a hoarder house. No one could identify where everyone slept or lived. No one was able to identify where the dead baby was found or slept, or who had last seen the baby alive, or who had put the baby to sleep last, investigators wrote. The parents would not speak to law enforcement and were not present at the time of the search warrant. The document further revealed that the children were found to be filthy, unkempt, and reportedly emitting an odor of human feces. Authorities transported the kids to a church facility where they were provided with food and an opportunity to play. Investigators reportedly said it was evident that the children had not been adequately fed. The younger children were subsequently placed under the care of the Department of Human Services. Following the baby's death, Crowley County Coroner's Office responded to the hospital, where the parents continued to impede the investigation, according to authorities. The coroner reported that he found the baby filthy, with dirt on feet, fingernails, and scalp, with a lot of wax buildup in ears, the document reportedly states. Parents would not accept the child's death and claimed they were going to pray and have, redacted the baby's name, resurrected, and initially refused to give custody of the child to the coroner for autopsy. While the exact cause of death was yet to be determined, the autopsy revealed an absence of food in the baby's stomach and no urine in the bladder. Interviews were then set up with the other children on November 3rd, 2022, where 2 of the children reportedly told authorities that the baby, quote, died with a plastic bag over it. On February 8th, 2023, a day after my birthday, more interviews were conducted with the kids in reference to the alleged abuse. The children were always starving and ate non-food products to include human waste, paint, paper, and cardboard, according to the arrest papers. The kids were reportedly never allowed out of their rooms, and they were not allowed to play in their yard. There were claims they ate 1 to 2 meals a day of ramen noodles or cereal, with all of the kids sitting on the floor and eating out of the same bowl. Investigators reportedly said that the parents physically abused all of the children and also withheld food and water as a form of punishment. Following the death of the baby, the Soltanis in the summer of 2022 reportedly had another baby, their 8th child. Additionally, Joy Soltani is currently pregnant with the couple's 9th child, according to KKTV. Now, this is one of those cases I'm still trying to wrap my head around, even with all the exclusive talks I've had with the ex-wife and the aunt of Jason Soltani. And I'm saying this now that I think about those interviews, I think about what I said at the end of those talks. If Joy Soltani is a victim, I hope something is done where she'll be set free. If Joy Soltani is a willing participant, I hope she and Jason both get the justice. When I say get the justice, I'm talking about get the book thrown at them. And that baby get the justice he so richly deserves. Next, Tyler and Krista Schindler. Again, shout out to Law and Crime. You guys are doing a bang up job covering these stories. Homeschooling parents their 10 years and tried to starve him to death so no one would ever knew he existed, according to prosecutors. This is from late June. First of all, let's get a pick of these monsters. Right here, this is Tyler and this is Krista. Yeah. Models of parenthood, right? Georgia couple accused of starving and abusing their 10-year-old son have been denied bond after prosecutors made shocking new allegations about them. During a hearing in Spalding County, a judge agreed with state prosecutors and denied pretrial release for Krista Schindler and her husband Tyler, who were charged in May with a myriad of counts related to the alleged starvation and abuse of their child. Prosecutors told the judge that the couple had planned for the boy to be hidden away while he died so that he could perish without anyone ever knowing he existed, according to a courtroom report by Atlanta-based ABC affiliate WSB-TV. The court found that the Schindlers posed a significant risk of flight, that the couple was likely to try to intimidate witnesses in the case, and that they were a significant risk to the community at large. The Schindler's son was found in May wandering along a street on the way to a Kroger grocery store, emaciated and allegedly begging to never go home again. The couple was charged with attempted homicide in the second degree, attempted malice murder in the first, numerous counts of cruelty to children in the first, second, and third degree, battery, simple battery, and false imprisonment. There were additional children in the home, according to authorities. They have since been removed and placed in the custody of the Georgia Department of Family and Children's Services. The children were all being homeschooled, according to the GPD. According to warrants obtained by Atlanta-based NBC affiliate WXIA, the couple caused their son cruel and excessive physical and mental pain when they intentionally withheld food from the juvenile for an extended period of time. They are additionally accused of causing their son dental injury and disfiguration, withholding medical attention and locking the boy inside his bedroom for extended periods on multiple occasions with no access to lights, food, clothing, or adult interaction and or assistance. At the time the boy was found by neighbors who called police, he weighed 36 pounds. A typical healthy weight for a 10-year-old in the United States would allegedly be marked higher, according to the CDC. This child was simply put being starved to death, and it's tragic. That's according to Spalding County District Attorney Marie Broder said during a press conference at the time the defendants were arrested. I truly believe that if he had not gotten out of that home, this would be a very different case. I can agree to that. Law enforcement alleged that the 10-year-old boy was also physically abused by his older stepbrother, Ethan Washburn of Franklin, Tennessee. Washburn, age 20, was arrested on 2 felony counts of aggravated assault. He stands accused of using both of his hands to choke the child around his neck. Oh, so there's another one who likes to choke people out. Just saying. Shinleys have shared children as well as children from prior relationships, officials previously said. Four other minors were living in the same house as the 10-year-old boy who had nearly wasted away, police said, but nothing appeared to be wrong with, and no abuse appeared to have been present in those other children. However, in making the state's case for continuing to hold the couple without bail, a prosecutor argued that the Shinleys' other children were little more than human income devices. They gained quite a bit of financial benefit from fostering 5 children and then adopting them, prosecutors said near the end of the bond hearing. So they have access to uncounted funds that would give them the ability to flee the jurisdiction. When asked if they had anything to say on their own behalf on the stand or if they had witnesses to call, the couple, who did not appear to be represented by counsel, replied they did not. Both of those defendants at that time remained detained in the Spalding County Jail. Right now, and soon after that, whenever the trial is, that's where they belong. That is where they belong, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope and I pray that they get that kind of time for trying to starve that child to death, all the abuse that child suffered. The next is a case I probably would have gotten on my political high horse with this one. Texas man fatally shot his girlfriend in the head in front of her sister after learning she traveled to another state to get an abortion. This was in May. This guy right here is Harold Levon Thompson, and right in the inlet shot is his girlfriend Gabriela Gonzalez. 22-year-old man in Texas arrested for allegedly shooting and killing his 26-year-old girlfriend in front of multiple witnesses after he learned that she had traveled to a different state to get an abortion. Harold Lamont Thompson, the 22-year-old, was taken into custody and charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of assault on a family or household member by impeding breathing in the death of Gabriela Gonzalez. That's according to court records reviewed by Law and Crime. Officers with the Dallas Police Department on the evening of May 10th responded to a reported shooting at an address located in the 800 block of Walton Walker Boulevard, according to an affidavit of probable cause obtained by Law and Crime. Upon arriving at the scene, first responders say they found an adult female, later identified as Gonzalez, who appeared to have been shot multiple times. She was pronounced dead on the scene. Gonzalez's sister, identified in court documents as Melanie Rubio, told police that she saw her sister and Thompson walking together shortly before the shooting. She said that she found it odd that her sister was walking because Gonzalez was driving a rental car at the time. Rubio said that after she passed by her sister and Thompson, she's heard the sound of gunfire, and when she turned around to look back, she saw her sister on the ground. A second witness to the alleged shooting, whose name was not disclosed in court documents, told police they saw Thompson put Gonzalez in a chokehold just before he fatally shot her. The witness attempted to give help, but to the victim, but was unsuccessful, police wrote. The witness was also unable to call for assistance because she did not have her cell phone on her at the time of the shooting. Investigators then obtained surveillance footage from nearby buildings which showed Thompson and Gonzalez walking together. The suspect then attempts to put Gonzalez in a chokehold, but she shrugs him off. Police wrote an affidavit. Gonzalez and the suspect continue to walk through the parking lot. Suspect Thompson then pulls out a firearm and shoots Gonzalez 1 time in the head. Gonzalez falls to the ground, and the suspect then fired multiple more shots into the complainant. After allegedly shooting Gonzalez several times, police say that Thompson fled the scene on foot. As the investigation into the shooting continued, police say they learned that Gonzalez had recently traveled to Colorado to get an abortion, which investigators say was likely the motive for the shooting. She returned from Colorado on the night before she was killed. It's believed that the suspect was the father of the child, police wrote in the affidavit. The suspect did not want Gonzalez to get an abortion. At the time of the shooting, Thompson also had an active arrest warrant issued in March, which states that he allegedly physically assaulted a pregnant Gonzalez multiple times by strangling and punching her. She is scared of the suspect because he had made threats to harm her family and her children, police wrote of Gonzalez. She has kids from a different relationship, and the suspect is very jealous of the complainant's ex-boyfriend. At the time, Thompson was being held in the Dallas County Jail without bond. I could have easily got on my political high horse when I first read this story, and that just because he didn't want to get an abortion, he was gonna shoot her dead just to keep it from happening. But she already went to a different state to have it done anyway. Now, to jump on my political high horse real quick, personally, I don't believe in abortion. But if it means A, your choice, and B, your health, I'm not going to stop you personally. I don't have any say on that. But at the same time, if I had the mindset of this guy, I'm not going to try to choke you out to stop you from getting an abortion, or shoot and kill you to stop you from getting an abortion. That's where I draw the line. I believe in a woman's right to choose, even though I don't believe in abortion myself. But even still, if I did, I'm not gonna stop you in a violent way like this. I hope that this guy gets plenty of time behind bars for murder of 2 lives. Speaking of taking lives, file this one under justice served. I told you I'm recapping the entire segment the best I can. Man who beat stepdaughter to death gets decades behind bars. This is what I need my stamp. Take a look at this guy. You'll never see him on the street again. At least for a good long while anyway. 31-year-old man in Mississippi will spend several decades behind bars for beating his juvenile stepdaughter to death and physically abusing his 2 younger stepchildren. A Hinds County Circuit Court judge on Wednesday sentenced Danny Dobbs to a combined 50 years in prison following the brutal 2020 death of 17-year-old LaMonica Tucker. According to a press release from Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens, Dobbs pleaded guilty to 1 count of secondary murder in Tucker's death and 2 counts of felony child abuse over the abuse inflicted upon Tucker's younger siblings, a 14-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl. He was sentenced to 40 years on the murder charge and 10 years on the child abuse charges, with the sentences running consecutively. Dabbs had initially been charged with capital murder, but pleaded to reduce charges after his defense attorney reached an agreement with prosecutors. Tiffany Chambers, Dabbs' wife and the children's biological mother, she's convicted of 1 count of capital murder and 2 counts of felony child abuse following a jury trial. A judge in April sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole on the murder charge, plus an additional 10 years on the child abuse charges. Ladies and gentlemen, the mom. No. Excuse me. The Mino. Remember that term? Mother and name only. This is the end of a truly traumatic and horrific crime of physical, mental, and sexual abuse. DA Owen said in a statement following the sentencing hearing. Our office will continue to fight for and protect all children from those that commit these acts. Officers with the Jackson, Mississippi Police Department at about 9:30 p.m. on October 31st, responded to a 911 call regarding an unresponsive juvenile at a residence located in the 600 block of Louder Drive, according to a report from Jackson NBC affiliate WLBT. Upon arriving at the scene, first responders reportedly found the victim later identified as Tucker, unconscious and showing numerous signs of physical abuse. Emergency medical services personnel transported Tucker to a local hospital where she succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced dead. As part of the investigation into Tucker's death, authorities had the victim's 2 younger siblings examined by doctors, and both children exhibited signs of prolonged physical abuse, WLBT reports. Following Tucker's death, Leanne Brandon, the director of communications for the Mississippi Department of Child Protective Services, told the Clarion Ledger that the family had been reported to the agency multiple times in the preceding years, and the parents were ordered to complete counseling in 2016 after accusations of child abuse were substantiated by investigators. So, to quickly recap, Chambers gets life behind bars without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years. Dabbs gets 50 years. If they give him a full time, which I believe they will, he won't get out until he's about 81 years of age, if he gets out. And as far as the Tiffany Chambers, she will not see the light of day. She will not see the light of day. Next. This next story, I put my heart and soul in. In fact, when I reported this story, I started out by saying, I'm usually not the one to say I told you so. But now, why would I say something like that? It's because I do this every year. Every year, I do what I like to call a public service. I remind everybody when the moment Memorial Day comes, during my last streaming day, which is today, which is Wednesdays, I will say to everyone, please do not leave your child in a hot car. This is the reason why I say so. This is one reason why I say so, excuse me. 2-year-old girl's hot car death has fallen parents in serious legal jeopardy. Here are said parents: Catherine Adams and Christopher McLean. Two Florida parents are facing charges because their 2-year-old girl died in a hot car after being locked inside for roughly 14 hours, according to law enforcement. 23-year-old Catherine Adams and 32-year-old Christopher McLean each stand accused of child neglect, possession of methamphetamine, and possession of drug paraphernalia, according to a Holmes County Sheriff's Office in Florida. Additional and much more serious charges are likely in the offing. Law enforcement says this pending the results of the autopsy on the toddler. Holmes County Sheriff John Tate said the Holmes County Dispatch first received a 911 call at 3:43 p.m. During that time. The woman on the other end of the line was disturbed and screaming, and the dispatch was unable to obtain much information on the details about what was going on. The deputy was then dispatched to perform a welfare check. First deputy arrived on scene within 2 minutes, Tate said during the press conference. Once he arrived on scene, he was met outside with an individual carrying a baby that was unresponsive. When I say baby, it was a 2-year-old. Immediately, the deputy began CPR, started trying to do life-saving measures on the child. Soon, EMS personnel arrived, law enforcement said, and the efforts at resuscitation fell to them. But by then, it was simply too late. The baby girl was pronounced dead at 3:59 p.m. Her body temperature at the time was 107 degrees, the sheriff said. 107 degrees. Child left in a hot car for roughly 14 hours. Do the math, guys. Do the math. Both parents were immediately taken into custody for questioning, Tate said, due to the extremely high temperature of the dead child's body. Investigators knew something wasn't adding up. Eventually, investigators came to the conclusion that the girl had been left in the car. Adams was then confronted with that conclusion and said she got off work around midnight the night before, went to the babysitter's house to pick up her 2-year-old and 4-year-old, then got home. Once she got home, the younger child was asleep, so the parent decided to leave the child in the car. Went inside and ultimately fell asleep. The parents either didn't wake up or didn't realize they had forgotten about the baby girl until 3:41 that afternoon, a matter of minutes before the victim was pronounced dead. Once they realized that the child was still in the car, they went out and found her unresponsive. The 4-year-old is currently in the custody of the Sunshine State's Child Welfare Agency, the sheriff said. The incident is still under investigation, citing gray areas about what happened between the time they found the child and when they called 911. Yet the cellular phone records and other pieces of information are being sought to clear up those issues. The mom did confess to leaving the child in the car for about 14 hours. The dad, we tried to interview him. He was very uncooperative. He invoked his rights and did not wish to give us a statement and talk to us at the time. According to Holmes County Sheriff's Office, search warrants were executed at the residence that turned up multiple packages of methamphetamine and other relatively minor drugs and drug paraphernalia. So basically, once the mom confessed, we arrested the mom and the dad on numerous charges to deal with the drugs and stuff. The sheriff said and added that blood draws were ordered for both parents. The parents are likely to face additional charges for the child's death. There will be more charges coming, Sheriff Tate said. They will be faced with some type of manslaughter or murder charge. Honestly, I hope they do charge them with some type of murder or manslaughter charge. I mean, I say it year after year after year after year. And I will likely say it come next year. Be careful of your surroundings during the summertime. What's hot outside is hotter inside. Remember, you have a child in the back seat of your car. But apparently people just don't listen. And you're gonna get another taste of that in a few more minutes. In the meantime, I hope the police found all the evidence they're looking for, and both Adams and McLean get justice. Stand by, guys, for the next story in this recap. So I've got a few more doozies left. As I'm waiting for the article to pull up, does everyone remember the death of little Sequoia Samuels? Well, according to this was one of the most recent updates in any of the cases I bring here today. This is where the mother makes her case in court, makes her first court appearance. Brittany Jackson. Yeah, that's the that's the Mino in this case's name, not to be confused with my friend allegedly with Brittany J here on YouTube. Shout out to her. How you doing? Brittany Jackson, the mother charged in the death of a 4-year-old daughter, made an appearance in court Thursday morning. Jackson, who was arrested in the death of Sequoia Samuels, is facing charges of abuse of a corpse, aggravated child abuse and neglect, and making a false report. On the morning of June 15th, Jackson told police that Sequoia, who had a feeding tube on the left side of her stomach, was missing from their North Memphis home. An extensive search involving the Memphis Police Department, Shelby County Sheriff's Office, and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation followed. Later that night, Sequoia's remains were found in the 200 block of Caldwell Avenue. Jackson reportedly told police that her boyfriend, 21-year-old Jalen Hobson, beat Sequoia to death and that Sequoia had been dead for several weeks. Memphis police say Sequoia's body was found in a garbage bag. During the brief court hearing, a judge ordered Jackson to return to court on October 5th. That's where my next update is coming from on that one. Jackson's attorney, Kenneth Brashear, previously requested that Jackson will undergo a mental evaluation, which was granted. Oh boy. There has been no word on the status of said evaluation. Jackson is still currently in the Shelby County Jail on a $500,000 bond. Hobson, who is currently charged with making a false report, is in jail on a $50,000 bond. I'm calling BS twice. One, a mental evaluation, really? Do you honestly think that she needs a mental evaluation? Number one. Number two, How does the mom get a $500,000 bond, which she shouldn't have got one, and the boyfriend gets only a bond of $50,000? Again, he shouldn't have one. This is the same case. Another source. Localmemphis.com. Shout out to them, and also shout out to WREG for their coverage of the case. Oh, this one's heading to a grand jury, folks. This is as of June. This was from June 27th. The case against Jalen Hobson, charged with false reporting in the death of 4-year-old Sequoia Samuels, is headed to a grand jury. During a court hearing on Tuesday, June 27, 2023, the false reporting charge, as well as a previous case against Hobson involving drug and weapons charges, was sent to a grand jury. Hobson remains in jail on a $50,000 bond in Samuel's case. No bond was set in the other case. A mental evaluation was ordered during a court hearing last week for Samuel's mother, Brittany Jackson. Her bond was set at $500,000 on charges of child neglect, abuse of a corpse, and false offense reporting. According to the court affidavits, Jackson admitted the little girl had been dead for weeks before she was reported missing on Thursday, June 15, 2023. In the affidavit for Jackson, police said the mother originally told investigators she had been home the day before with 4 children, 2 hers and 2 relatives of her boyfriend, Jalen Hobson. She claimed she gave Sequoia water, then fell asleep on the couch, and Hobson came home and fell asleep. The affidavit said Jackson woke up to her front door open and found Sequoia missing, so she called police about 6:30 a.m. Under questioning, Memphis police said the story changed. According to the affidavit, Jackson claimed Hobson had beat Sequoia several times in the weeks before the false report. She told investigators, according to the report, that Sequoia had become unresponsive during the last meeting and she never regained consciousness, and that Jackson never attempted to render aid to the girl. Jackson told police Hobson put Sequoia in garbage bags, which they stored in the home for several weeks until that Thursday, when they put the girl's remains in a garbage container at the apartments. According to the affidavit, Hobson denied being involved in the death of Sequoia and that he last saw her on Sunday, June 11, 2023, which police noted in the report was impossible due to the advanced state of decomposition of the human remains believed to be Sequoia. Memphis Police Department officially canceled the missing endangered child alert the morning of Friday, June 16th, for 4-year-old Sequoia Samuels. That's when the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations said investigators believed the child was dead. Guys, I remember that one all too well. All too well. The moment the alert came out that they were looking for her, I put it out as an Amber Alert. That's because the report was that she was missing, only to find out that the child was already dead and had been dead for weeks. Both Jackson and Hobson deserve to get the book thrown at them as well. Not about children being abused. No child deserves that. None. Onward. Summer of Justice rolls on. The summer of justice rolled on and rolled on and rolled on. The next stop is in Wisconsin. I may have been wrong for saying this at the time, but I'll still stand by it now. Probably the coolest name for a murder defendant is, you ready, guys? Taylor Shabusiness. Yeah, gotta be the coolest name for a murder defendant. Anyway, a Wisconsin woman convicted of killing and dismembering her sexual partner while high on drugs faces life in prison after a jury rejected the defense's claim that she was suffering from mental illness at the time. Taylor Shabusiness was found guilty on all counts during the first phase of her trial. During the second phase or responsibility phase, the jury returned the unanimous verdict, finding that she did not have a mental disease or defect at the time of the murder. Sentencing has been set for September 26th. That's next Tuesday, and I will bring you that. Coverage the following day. The 25-year-old was charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault in the February 2022 death of Shad Ferian. She pled not guilty by reason of insanity. Authorities said Shabusiness strangled Ferian with a chain during sex while they were high on methamphetamine. In police interviews admitted as trial evidence. She then admitted to sexually assaulting and dismembering his corpse. Attorneys for Shabusiness sought to have her statements at the time of her arrest thrown out, arguing that she was under the influence of drugs. In June, a judge denied a defense motion to drop the sexual assault charge, based on the idea that the victim was dead and his penis had been dismembered. Prior to trial, a judge approved a second competency hearing for Shabusiness after defense argued from the initial evaluation completed in November 2022 is no longer current. Her defense claims she, quote, may have been suffering from a mental breakdown or other mental defect before and after the alleged incident on February 23, 2022. On July 13th, the judge heard testimony from forensic psychologist Dr. Diane Litton. Dr. Litton testified Shabusiness showed signs of an active psychotic disorder and was not confident for trial. Before jury selection was scheduled to begin on July 21st, court-ordered psychologist Dr. Matthew Sapel testified that Shabusiness was competent to stand trial. The judge ultimately found that the defendant is competent and proceeded with jury selection. So, ladies and gentlemen, we come back next Tuesday. No, let me rephrase my wording here. They'll come back next Tuesday with Taylor Shabusiness' sentencing, and I'll come back the very next day to report on it. Good stuff. So be ready for that one. But as of right now, justice served. Next, sleepover kidnapping murder trial. An Iowa judge has found a convicted sex offender guilty of kidnapping and murdering a 10-year-old girl. Judge Henry Latham announced his guilty verdicts Friday in the trial of Henry Dinkins, who was charged with first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping in the July 2020 death of Breja Terrell. Dinkins opted for a bench trial, meaning a judge decided his fate rather than a jury. Prosecutors delivered their opening statement on August 10th, with evidence concluding nearly 3 weeks later. While reading his verdict, Judge Latham explained the delay was due to Iowa law requiring a written ruling. Sentencing has been scheduled for October 11th. And yes, you can bet I will be covering that sentencing as well. Terrell and her half-brother had plans to sleep over at Dinkins' apartment the night she disappeared. Dinkins is the biological father of the boy. Who testified at trial, he saw Terrell leave the home with his father. Judge Latham credited the boy's courage with bringing Dinkins to justice while reading his verdicts. Dinkins' girlfriend, Andrea Culberson, also testified at trial that she woke up that night to find both Dinkins and Terrell missing around 3 a.m. Culberson said Dinkins quietly entered the apartment at 3:30 a.m., and she looked out the window and saw Terrell standing next to Dinkins' maroon Chevy Impala. Dinkins would not tell Culberson where he was going. He quickly grabbed something from the closet and left. Culberson then said she went back to the window as Dinkins was leaving the parking lot, presumably with Terrell, who was never seen alive again after that night. Terrell's mother, Aisha Langford, reported her daughter missing the next day. Dinkins, who was a registered sex offender with a significant criminal history, was immediately a person of interest in her disappearance. He was jailed shortly after violating sex offender registry requirements. Dinkins had failed to notify authorities when he moved in with his girlfriend. He was also forbidden from having contact with minors. According to the Iowa Sex Offender Registry, Dinkins was convicted in 1990 at the age of 17 of third-degree sexual abuse of a girl under the age of 13. Dinkins remained jailed for several months during the search for Terrell. In March 2021, two fishermen came upon human remains in a secluded pond on a private island about 25 miles north of Davenport in rural Clinton County. An autopsy positively identified the remains to be those of Terrell. A medical examiner testified Terrell's manner of death was homicide caused by multiple gunshot wounds. Days before Judge Latham's decision, Dinkins penned a letter accusing prosecutors of withholding evidence in his case. Apparently not, because if that was the case, Henry Dinkins, the judge would have probably ordered a mistrial instead of finding you guilty. October 11th, sentencing day. See you there. Next, remember I said about how Letitia Scott was one that would set you off? Here's another. Lori Vallow Daybell. File this one as well under the words justice served. Lori Vallow Daybell remained behind bars for the rest of her life with no chance of parole for her role in the deaths of two of her children, along with her fifth husband's former wife. Emotions ran high as loved ones read victim impact statements aloud in court on behalf of 7-year-old J.J. Vallow, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, and 49-year-old Tammy Daybell. let's see, last month, let's see, this is as of July 31st. Okay, July 31st. Fremont County District Judge Stephen Boyce ruled that only immediate family members of the victims would be permitted to speak at the sentencing hearing. The following family members spoke on behalf of those victims: Colby Ryan, Lori's oldest son, and Tylee and JJ's older brother; Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandmother and JJ's designated representative; Summer Shiflett, Lori's sister and Tylee's designated representative; and Samantha Gwillem, Tammy's sister. Other loved ones had expressed interest in speaking on behalf of the victims, but Judge Boyce had to eliminate them because they were not immediate family members. Tammy's aunt, Vicki Hoban, was granted special permission to speak due to the fact that Tammy's mother passed away in June. But Lori's attorneys later argued that an aunt is not a victim under Idaho law and therefore should not be permitted to speak. Judge Boyce kept his ruling, allowing Hoban to speak in the sentencing hearing. Lori spoke before Judge Boyce handed down his sentence. The death penalty was not an option, as the judge took that option off the table back in March. Lori, who was being housed at the Madison County Jail, will be transferred to the custody of the Idaho Department of Correction. She will serve out her time at the Pocatello Women's Correctional Center. Lori faces separate charges in Arizona in connection with the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, as well as conspiring to kill her ex-nephew-in-law, Brandon Bordeaux. There's your monster, ladies and gentlemen. Cased where she belongs. And the caption for this photo says that she sits during her sentencing hearing at the Fremont County Courthouse in St. Anthony, Idaho, on Monday, July 31st. The Idaho mother, Vallow Daybell, has been sentenced to life in prison without parole in the murders of her two youngest children and a romantic rival. The case has included bizarre claims that her son and daughter were zombies and that she was a goddess sent to usher in the biblical apocalypse. Yeah, let's see you do that from behind bars. Justice served. Next, this was one of the most recent cases that I covered here at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, and tried to try to get on to others on this too. And one other panel did, and I'm shouting it out now. Surprisingly enough, allegedly with Brittany J. I'm glad you helped cover this one, Britt. Thanks. A South Carolina woman convicted in the 2019 hot car death of her disabled teen daughter has been sentenced to 37 years in prison for murder. Rita Pangalangan was also sentenced to 20 years for causing great bodily injury to Christina Pangalangan, age 13, as the girl was left sitting for hours in a hot car outside the home of Rita Pangalangan's boyfriend, Larry King Jr. King was sentenced to 32 years for murder and 20 years for great bodily injury to a child. Both defendants were ordered to serve their sentences concurrently. I was thinking the same thing then. Man, those sentences should have ran consecutively, in my opinion. But I digress. Jurors took under 2.5 hours Friday that evening to find the pair guilty of both charges. Each defendant was acquitted of criminal conspiracy. Oh my God, Rita Pangalangan, a one-time Teacher of the Year, cried out as the verdict was read. King did not appear to visibly react to his conviction. According to court files obtained by Court TV, Christina Pangalangan was born March 28th of 2006 with severe intellectual and physical disabilities that left her confined to a wheelchair and unable to communicate verbally. Prosecutors allege that on August 5th, 2019, Rita and Larry left Christina in a vehicle parked outside of Larry's house for more than 5 hours, killing the teenager. Colleton County deputies who responded to the scene said Rita told them she had left Christina in the car while she ran into her boyfriend's house to get a pack of cigarettes. But when she returned to the car, the doors were locked and Christina and the keys were trapped inside, according to a report by WCIV. According to a wrongful death lawsuit, Christina was left in the car from 11 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. I'm going to stop reading right there. 11 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. How long does it take one to rush inside a house for a pack of cigarettes? I'm no smoker. But if I were, and I would have got my cigarettes, it wouldn't take me, let's see, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. It would not take me 5.25 hours to grab a pack of cigarettes. According to the wrongful death lawsuit, Christina was left in the car from 11 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. on a day when the outside temperature was between 88 and 91 degrees. The temperature inside the car was estimated to have reached between 130 and 135 degrees. As a result of being left unattended in a parked car in the middle of the summer, Christina died a torturous death of extreme pain and suffering. Investigators told WCIV that Rita's story began to fall apart after detectives seized security camera video from King's home, which reportedly shows the couple bringing the teen into King's house before returning her to the car and abandoning her. 3 hours later, Rita and Larry left the home in another vehicle and returned an hour later. Rita had been named the 2014 Teacher of the Year at Walter Burroughs Blackstreet Early Education Center, according to the Associated Press. The South Carolina State Board of Education suspended her educator certificate immediately after her arrest. In filing her suspension, the board said that despite her more than 25 years of experience as an educator, the arrest showed that Ms. Pangalangan may pose a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of her students. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my second example of why I come to you every year right after Memorial Day to preach the same thing. Do not leave your child in a hot car. Come next year, this time I have cases to back me up. I have cases to back me up, but this time, one of those cases actually has teeth behind it. South Carolina versus Pangalangan and King. I'll remember this, ladies and gentlemen, and think hard before you leave your child in a hot car. See you next summer. In the meantime, Rita Pangalangan, Larry King Jr., justice served. Now I'm going to take you all the way across the pond for a case that just straight up infuriated me. Now, there's something would have to infuriate me something would have to infuriate me to cover a case that goes all the way across the pond to the United Kingdom. That case was against Lucy Letby. Lucy Letby. This, you talk about of all the updates I've had on the day. This is one of the most recent. Oh boy. It's a case almost too terrible to be real. Nurse Lucy Letby has been convicted of murdering 7 infants and attempting to murder 6 others as a neonatal nurse at Chester Hospital in Cheshire, England. She was sentenced to life in prison and is considered one of the most prolific child killers in UK history. Letby was found guilty of killing 7 infants, 5 boys and 2 girls, while they were in her care in the neonatal unit of Chester Hospital in 2015 and 2016. She faced a total of 22 charges related to those deaths, as well as the attempted murder of 10 more infants. During her trial, which began in October 2022, several colleagues testified to witnessing unusual behavior from the former nurse. She was eventually convicted of 14 of those possible 22 counts. According to several media outlets, Letby is currently seeking permission to file an appeal against her convictions. In one instance of attempted murder, Letby tried to murder an infant referred to as Child G, while the baby's assigned nurse was on a break. Under Letby's care, expert witness Dr. Dewey Evans testified the baby received far more milk than prescribed, and that the overfeeding couldn't have been an accident, but was an intent to harm, per the BBC. That baby survived, but 7 others did not. In another instance, when an infant was in distress, Letby told off a co-worker who attempted to assist. I was shocked because you can't have enough help in that situation, Lisa Walker testified, according to the BBC. I was quite taken aback and shocked because it's something you would not expect a nurse to say. Letby pleaded not guilty to all 22 charges. The prosecution presented handwritten notes found in Letby's home, in which she describes herself as a horrible, evil purpose and says she killed them on purpose. But other notes purportedly proclaimed her innocent. I haven't done anything wrong, and they have no evidence, so why have I had to hide away? The notes read. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that in a nutshell is your task in this case, Prosecutor Nick Johnson told the jury when he presented the evidence in February 2023. Whether or not she did these dreadful things is a decision you will have to make when you have heard all the evidence. In May 2023, Letby took a stand in her own defense, telling the jury that she meant no harm during her time working at the Countess of Chester Hospital. I only ever did my best to care for them, Letby said of the babies in her care. That's completely against everything that being a nurse is. I am there to care, not to harm. Later that month, Letby claimed in court that the infant deaths could be related to alleged plumbing issues in the hospital. We used to have raw sewage coming out of the sinks and out of the floor in the nursery, one, she alleged. Also claiming that staff being able to wash their hands could be a contributory issue. However, when prosecutor Nick Johnson delivered his closing arguments in June 2023, he said that Letby used lethal air injection on at least 12 of her alleged victims. Johnson claimed air injection was one of her favorite ways of killing or trying to kill children in this case. This is the monster who was supposed to be a nurse. This is the monster who was tasked with taking care of children. Yeah. Plenty of evidence against her. She, like I said, she's sentenced to a life in prison in the UK. I don't think they have anything close to what we call parole. If they do, I hope you have a chance at that. I have one more case to go through before I go to the most recent update. Remember the young lady that killed 2 in a car accident? Yeah. This was one of our more recent cases as well. Mackenzie Shriller. Mm-hmm. This is out of Cleveland. Mackenzie Shriller, the 19-year-old woman who was found guilty of murder for purposely causing a car crash that killed her boyfriend and his friend in July 2022, was sentenced to 2 life sentences for the murders to be conserved concurrently. Okay, this is one time a concurrent sentence makes sense to me. I'll explain later. Shriller will serve a minimum of 15 years in prison for the 2 concurrent life sentences handed down by Judge Nancy Margaret Russo. During the impact statements from the family of the 2 victims, many pleaded for the sentences to run consecutively, and that Shriller should spend the maximum sentence of 30 years to life in prison. I understand the pain in this room wants me to impose the harshest sentence, Russo said before announcing Shriller's sentence. But I don't believe that would be an appropriate sentence because I do believe that Mackenzie will not be out in 15 years. I do believe that Mackenzie will not be out in 15 years. Shriller had been charged with 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and possessing criminal tools, according to court records. She was found guilty of all counts in a Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas. The crash happened on July 31st, 2022, just after 6 a.m. near Progress and Alameda Drives. The occupants, Shriller, Davian Flanagan, age 19, 20-year-old Dominic Russo, had to be extricated from the vehicle. Shriller was flown to Metro Health in Cleveland for treatment, while Flanagan and Russo were pronounced dead at the scene. Court records showed that Shriller did purposely cause the death of the 2 teens by crashing the vehicle she was driving. Honestly, I tend to agree. 15 years to life to run concurrently. I believe that's fair. I believe deep down that's fair. So once again, justice served, right? Now, I've got one. This is the last one, ladies and gentlemen, because like I said, justice does not take time off. Even though the weather's getting colder, the calendar is pushing toward Friday, which is about to be the first day of fall. Justice is not taking any time off. Here's proof of that right now. Just got the word today. A jury found Sidney Powell guilty. Excuse me. Let me try to say that again because that got me fired up. A jury found Sidney Powell guilty of all charges related to the fatal stabbing of her mother in the family's home. After deliberating for 9 hours and 23 minutes, the jury found the 23-year-old guilty of murder, felonious assault, and tampering with evidence in the March 3rd, 2020 death of 50-year-old Brenda Powell. According to the arrest affidavit, Sydney fatally stabbed Brenda when a verbal argument became physical. Sydney was just 19 at the time. Police say they discovered a wounded Brenda while responding to a welfare call that had been placed by someone at the University of Mount Union, where Sydney was a student. The caller told dispatch that he had spoken to Sydney over the phone and heard yelling and screaming, which prompted him to alert authorities after calling Sydney back twice and getting no answer. Brenda, who worked at Akron Children's Hospital, Showers Family Center for Childhood Cancer and Blood Disorders as a child life specialist for nearly 30 years, was taken to Cleveland Clinic, Akron General. She succumbed to her injuries shortly thereafter. Sydney was also treated for minor injuries. The Summit County Medical Examiner determined that Brenda died of multiple sharp, blunt force injuries. Her death was ruled a homicide. Sydney entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, became very emotional just before the verdict was read by the judge. Sydney, who had been out on bail since her arraignment in Summit County Common Pleas Court, was taken into custody while audibly crying. Her sentence was set for October 28th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. At that point, the judge will decide whether Sydney will serve her sentence in prison or in a mental health facility. So there you go. I'm gonna highlight this one more time for you before I wrap everything up. A jury has found Sydney Powell guilty on purposeful murder, on felony murder, on felonious assault, and tampering with evidence. After 9 hours and 23 minutes. October 28th, 2023, 8:30 a.m. will be her sentencing date, and Bethea'S Byte Reloaded will have it covered. You know what I love about the summer? After the summer comes a fall. The fall of a lot of these people that I covered. Every last one of them has either gotten what they deserve as far as sentencing, will face justice, or even if it's just a conviction, they are going to get what they deserve. So that's the summer of justice. Let's see what happens during the fall. The winter of 2024, spring of 2024, and then we get our wheels going in the summer of 2024. Okay? Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for everybody that was in the chat earlier. You all know how to get in contact with me on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, email. If you don't, watch the end of the video. You'll remember how. Thank you all so much. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. I want you all to take that, spread it around. I want you all to be good to yourselves, be kind to yourself, love others, be kind to others as well. That way I can see you right back here next edition of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. Till then, I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. And until next time, you all know what to do. Byte this. Hey guys, this is The Last Outlaw, saying thank you to all who have watched and subscribed to Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, your true crime and drama-free destination. I couldn't do this without you. Did you enjoy this video? Are you looking to get more information about what you have seen and heard here? Are you looking to give feedback as to how I can present this better? Here's what you do. Like this video. The more eyes on it, the more this information gets spread to others, which makes it a step closer to justice served. Share this to your social media. Again, with more eyes on this, the closer we get to seeing justice served. Drop me a comment. Whether it's on the topic or the presentation, I will respond to your theories and ideas. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button to show your support for this little true crime engine, powered by you. Set your notifications to all for future videos. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded True Crime on Facebook. At EKB316 on X, formerly known as Twitter. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded on YouTube. At EKB316 on Instagram. At King of Hearts 316 2021 on TikTok. You can email me at kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. This is your home for news without the drama, your opinions, lively debates, your voice heard, and above all else, justice served. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.